You mentioned downloads and how they influenced your life choices. Can you explain what you mean by a download and how they influenced you? And I've got a very creepy, I don't want to say comparison, but something very creepy that kind of parallels what you talk about. And it was Diane Pasuka, and she talks about um, JPL, Jack Parsons, and Aleister Crowley making contact or believing that Jack Parsons was getting something from a higher intelligence to help with this rocket. Now, I'm not saying that's you, but those two don't have a very good reputation when it comes to Lamb and their entities and stuff like that, especially Crowley. Crowley was kind of dark. So, anyways, your background in what you think was going on with your downloads and things like that.
So I didn't even think about downloads until I was near the end of my career, and I began listening and became friends with Grant Cameron, who
Okay.
said, "Who was a friends with Chris Bledsoe?" And Chris was the person that convinced Grant that lots of musicians got downloads, and that's how they wrote the songs they got. And Grant ran with it. So I began hearing downloads and downloads, and then I remembered some stories my mom used to tell me when she was still alive, and I asked her about them, and she confirmed them. So here's the first of them up through, say, my 18th birthday. That'll really set the stage. When I was 3 years old, I woke up, got up out of my bed, and walked into where my mother and her best friend were doing their usual thing, smoking cigarettes, having coffee, and gossiping. So I went in there and I walked over to the bookshelf, grabbed a book, opened it up, and started reading it to them. I had never had a day's training in reading. So that was interesting, but I didn't really have any memory of it. But what happened after that is through my first 10 years, many people recognized that I was something different. And so let me give you to you in the 10th year. In the 10th year, I built my own telescope from scratch. I ground the mirror, built it. I became an amateur radio operator, built my own transmitters and receivers. I built my own rockets and the earliest ST's rockets. My next door neighbor took me under his wing, and we built together, with me being his grunt work, the largest fossil collection in the state of Alabama. And the final thing, which had an impact on my career up until college, is I got Gray's Anatomy from a family doctor, and I memorized it from cover to cover. Now, my mother told him this and didn't believe him, so he came and visited right after Thanksgiving and had a dinner party at my mother's. And I stood on the hearth. I still remember it. I stood on the hearth and he quizzed me on Gray's Anatomy and couldn't stump me. So after that, my entire family was certain, because I was a medical genius that had memorized Gray's Anatomy, that I was going to be a doctor. So I went to school with my girlfriend from my hometown, same college. And one weekend, I picked her up and we were headed back home for the weekend. And it was about a 2 hour drive, but an hour and a half into a part of it, the part where I stopped remembering and the part where we woke up, we wound up in the middle of nowhere with no idea where we were, at a stop sign. I mean, in the middle of backwoods Alabama. I mean, sparsely populated backwoods Alabama. It took me 15 minutes to drive far enough to figure out where we were. I went home, apologized to my girlfriend's mother, saying I took a wrong turn because we were yapping, and we're here now and everybody's okay. And I forgot all about it. Totally forgot all about it. But that was an hour and a half of missing time. And I didn't even remember that until I heard Grant Cameron talking about it. And then I went home, asked my mother, Did that actually happen? She says, oh yeah, that was a big deal when it happened to you and your girlfriend. And she remembered it. Okay, and my girlfriend remembered it too. She remembered the event. So I had multiple confirmation that actually happened. So 2 weeks after that, I was no longer going to be a medical doctor. I got a degree in applied math with a degree in electrical engineering and a minor in physics.